this is somewhat of a review, but more of a rants and rambles. I don't get a lot of interaction on this channel, but in all seriousness, I would love some opinions on this. Anyone who feels like leaving a comment. But personally, I think the MCU, I don't think there's necessarily superhero fatigue. A lot of people are saying that that's why Phase 4 falls flat. To me, I just feel like it's not fatigue, it's just that the stories aren't as good. And I think one thing that could make the stories better would be if Endgame had never been made. And don't get me wrong, I love Endgame. It's a great movie. But in my opinion, Infinity War is a better movie. It's a lot more excitement, a lot more high-flying. And with Endgame, it's like, you knew the heroes were going to win in the end. I mean, to some degree, you always know that with all superhero movies. But with Endgame especially, this is the send-off to 10 years of storytelling, and I'm glad a lot of these characters got the goodbyes that they deserved. However, I just feel like, you know, if you change the last few things that happened in Phase 3, Phase 4 could be exponentially more interesting if you take it from the angle of, hey, just let Thanos win. Because the villains never win. And I think, first of all, it's an incredibly brave thing to do. Because, like, I think 98% of all movies, the good guy wins in the end. Well, even, you know, and it's like the main character has to win. That's just the thing. But with Infinity War, if you look at it as its own movie, it's basically the only Hollywood movie, at least the only comic book movie, where the bad guy wins. And that sets a tone for like a decade of storytelling if you just leave it at that. X out Endgame and then just let Infinity War be the end and have the originals get snapped. You can still have Black Panther get snapped, but, you know, instead of the Guardians getting snapped, you have maybe Thor get snapped, maybe not. You know, definitely have Iron Man get snapped. I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of specifics we'd have to go into, but I just, you know, change a few of the people who do get snapped, and let's have it go from there, you know, and then everything makes even more sense this way, because it's like, okay, Captain America and Iron Man get snapped. And then a month later, or maybe even a week or two later, Pepper finds out, oh, she was pregnant. You know, Tony's dream was like a real prophetic dream. And now her husband dies and she doesn't even get a chance to say goodbye. And she's raising this kid alone. And Stark Industries, she's dealing with all of that. While also, you know, Happy, he's trying to help her out with all that while also helping Spider-Man figure out his next move. He's trying to be a superhero, but he's still stuck on this whole, oh, I'm supposed to be the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. I'm not supposed to lead the Avengers. I mean, you could snap Nick Fury, but it might be better to keep him around. And honestly, I don't hate Captain Marvel. I enjoy Brie Larson. I'm not going to argue that, oh, she's the best actor of all time. I think she does a decent job. I mean, there are some roles that she pulls off better than the others, and I think a lot of the downfalls with Captain Marvel comes more down to the writing than her performance. But I enjoyed Captain Marvel. I enjoyed the Marvels, though, to be fair, Iman Vellani carried most of that movie. So, but anyways, we don't have to get into those details. What I'm saying, though, is Captain Marvel didn't necessarily have to exist yet in this universe. She could. I'm just saying she doesn't feel like a necessary character. And when with the what's it called? Scarlett Johansson, though, I love her, but like, I think with Black Widow, it's more about timing than anything. Because if that movie hadn't been pushed back and delayed, if it had been released before Infinity War, it would have been great. Okay, we get Civil War, then we get Black Widow. We see her out here doing her thing. You know, that would have been perfect. I think, you know, having her be the first female superhero lead would have been a lot more hype. Plus, the pandemic just changed a lot of things, and I think it streamed pretty well. There was just more of a revenue issue. There's a lot of stuff with the money issue going around, but Anyways, that's what I would do if I was in there. I would say, okay, first of all, Black Widow, make sure it gets out after Civil War, before Infinity War, and then let's just not do Endgame. Let's have Infinity War, Cap and Tony, they get snapped, and now, hey, it's sad because they both died without really reconciling, and then, Captain America, no, Falcon and the Winter Soldier can still basically happen the same way. It won't be exactly the same story because half of their story was that, these terrorists are upset because, there's all these displaced people and we're trying to figure out where to live. But the MCU really isn't doing enough with that. In fact, they barely touched on it in that series, even though that seems to be, like, the main focus of the fucking story. But you could still have all the elements of, Cap is gone, I don't feel right, the shield doesn't feel right in my hands, do I get the, do I get that super soldier serum, and also, like, the whole thing with Bucky and his redemption arc. You can still do all of those things. The villains would need to be slightly tweaked. And I think also just the whole thing, let's be honest, the Eternals, it didn't need to exist at all. It didn't have to be made. I think they're doing something with it in a future thing, but whatever. Like, as of now, it just doesn't need to happen. And then, because like with Wanda, if she hadn't been snapped, like I said, it ends on Infinity War with, hey, she killed her husband to save the world, and it didn't matter anyways. He still, either way, her husband was going to die no matter what she did. But now she bears the guilt of having to kill him, of having watched him die twice, and still suffering the mission, and the whole world dies. Like, it makes perfect sense that her villain arc really takes off from there. And then, because, like, at least with Endgame, you have the satisfaction of knowing that in the end, you still saved the world. At least you did your job as a hero, and sacrifices are kind of part of the territory. But in this time, it's like, I lost everything and it changed nothing. And so WandaVision makes even more sense that way. And then, her, like I said, her just transitioning into a full-time villain for Multiverse of Madness, and let her be one of the MCU's next big bads, Like, I would have loved to see it go in that direction, just go full-on, because Scarlet Witch is a villain in a lot of the comic books. I don't know if y'all know that. I think in her original introduction, she was a villain. Let her just go full villain. I think Olsen could definitely pull it off. And I just, but anyway, so yeah, that's my thing. I don't know how much we really want to go into details here. I'm just saying, because, like, I feel like letting eliminate Endgame, let Infinity War be the finale, snap out the originals, and then use that to usher in Phase 2. And you have Hulk still going over the guilt of, I couldn't transform, I couldn't stop him, I lost so many friends in this battle, and now suddenly my cousin's a hero, and I don't know if I even want to mentor her. She doesn't deserve to have this curse, And then, I don't know when Daredevil Born Again is coming out, but, like, that could also be part of it. It's like, okay, the world ended, and now some of these other superheroes are coming out of the woodwork, Like, that could all be part of it. The biggest issue I have is just Loki, because, I mean, it was Loki stealing the Tesseract that set up for the Loki series, but the Loki series isn't necessarily necessary to the time. I don't think the Time Variance Authority is necessary to the multiverse storyline. It's still an interesting story. I loved it. I enjoyed Sylvie. She's amazing. Talented actress. Great storyline. It was fun to watch. It's unfortunate what happened, everything with, the Kang actor. We don't want to have to say his name if you don't want to, but, it seems like the Kang Dynasty storyline is kaput, and rightfully so, because but it looked like it was going to be interesting, and it's unfortunate, but hey, we have to accept the fact that it's not going to happen and move on. But I just think there are so many different angles that could have been tackled. And I just feel like, just like I said, Infinity War would have been a much better lead into Phase 2, and building off of grief and, having everyone heal from trauma and figure out how to move on. I think that's an even better message, because, unfortunately, like I said, it's just, Endgame just felt, it was fun to watch, but in retrospect, like, I've rewatched Infinity War I have rewatched Infinity War more times than I've rewatched Endgame, just because Endgame is just such a formulaic movie. The good guys overcome the odds and win. Infinity War, it's like, hey, we threw everything we had at this motherfucker, and he still kicked our asses, and now we're trying to figure out how to rebuild. People are trying to figure out how to move on, and he's still out there somewhere. We don't know that he won't ever come back again. Shit. Scarlet Witch is evil now. Who knows what she's going to do? And now the multiverse has opened up because, Doctor Strange let an 8-year-old tell him what to do. I know he's not 8. He's like 18. Actually, he's like 30-something in real life. But we don't need to get into that. You understand what I'm trying to say. Anyways, that's my thought. Let me know. Do you think I'm right? Can you at least see where I'm coming from with this? Once again, Endgame, not a bad movie. It's a great movie, but I just feel like Infinity War was a more fun movie to watch, and it would have been a better lead-off point. That's the main purpose of this. Oh shit, 11 minutes. I've said a lot, apparently. Anyways, that's just my opinion. Like I said, leave comments down below. Let me know what you think. Feel free to let me know how wrong I am. I don't care if you disagree with me. Just tell me why. Give me a good explanation. Don't just say you're wrong because you're wrong. Just tell me why, okay? Tell me why. Tell